Good afternoon. I'm Kelly Dyer Fry, editor of The Oklahoman, and I am here to discuss some really exciting news with this group of very dedicated people. We are embarking on something that will really change the face of domestic violence in Oklahoma City. I have Kim Garrett here today, and Kim is sitting next to Casey Gwen. I didn't mess your name up. And then we have Jan Perry with the YWCA, and of course Chief Bill City. So Kim, I'm going to let you kind of kick this off and just kind of tell us how we got to this point.
Sure. I had the honor of starting the Victim Services at Oklahoma City Police Department 4 years ago, and in that time we really noticed that there are some amazing programs in our community, but some of them are difficult to access for victims, and sometimes victims have a lot of various needs, and so one agency can't respond to all of those various needs for a victim. And so we started looking at different best practice models across the United States, and we quickly learned of Family Justice Center and started doing some research and a lot of community meetings and talking to key leaders and things like that, and it really gained momentum very quickly in our community of trying to move these resources into one central location so it can be more efficient for victims and really wrap them around with services.
Right, and in comes Casey. You want to tell us a little of your background and why you're here?
Sure. So I serve as the president of an organization called Alliance for Hope International. We're really the umbrella organization for a lot of family justice centers across America that try to bring all the services for victims under one roof and create kind of this comprehensive wraparound approach so that victims can come one place and not have to tell their story over and over and over and go from agency to agency to agency. The whole model really started in San Diego. We put together 25 agencies 13 years ago under one roof.
Wow.
And in a very short period of time, our domestic violence homicides dropped almost 90%. Because when victims are wrapped in safety and support and services, they're more able to engage in the criminal justice system, so there's greater accountability for offenders in that process, and they're more able to access all the services that they need. So we started that center in San Diego. It's become part of a national movement now. We have about 90 of these centers across the United States. We're in 20 countries, all built around that simple concept. And we focus both on adults and children. Because if you really want to break this cycle, you've got to focus on the kids. In America, we raise our criminals at home. Wow. And the vast majority of people we lock up in Oklahoma and across America have come out of homes with some mix of child abuse and domestic violence and or drug and alcohol abuse. So if we don't focus there on the kids, we're missing the real piece that we need to break the generational cycle of family violence.
That sounds really exciting. And you were active in creating one in Tulsa, right?
We were honored to work as part of an initiative that President Bush created in 2004 to start the first 15 pilot centers in the United States. And now with just amazing bipartisan support across the United States and a lot of support recently from the Obama administration, we've just had an amazing amount of collaboration developing, all built on the work that Jan and organizations like the YWCA have done for 30, 40 years working on this issue, but now beginning to pull in cops and prosecutors and advocates and pulling in medical professionals and pulling in child abuse folks and elder abuse folks and sexual assault folks. So that's the exciting kind of journey we're in the middle of right now, trying to develop the Family Justice Center model here while also continuing to support the amazing work that a lot of good organizations are doing. We don't want this to damage the good work that's already happening. We want the pie to get bigger, and we want the services to become more comprehensive and effective.
Right, and that's good news for you, Jan.
We're very excited about it. I'm a little envious when Tulsa got theirs because we were in the semifinalists. Bill and I were around at that time and trying to get one, so we're real excited. It's time. I think we've done a lot in the community the last few years that have really gotten more and more of a buy-in. So I think the opportunity for success is really there, and those critical services, I think, across the board will help break that cycle, get the victims what they need, and help them begin their journey to healing.
Well, Oklahoma City doesn't really like to get beat by Tulsa, so I guess we better
Told you.
better get in gear. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about what, from your perspective, how this will help?
Well, you know, the thing with the Family Justice Center is it helps in the community in so many different ways. Obviously, it helps law enforcement. It helps law enforcement because it has the potential to reduce the number of domestic violence cases overall that we have to work. It also, it could reduce the homicide rate which has been significant over the last several years, and we're way too high for the number of people we have in this community. Our domestic violence rate's too high, overall homicides are too high, and it really has a potential to impact all crime. Because I mean, in learning more and more about domestic violence, and I have since the Alliance of Hope has come, because they've been doing this for so long, you know, there's a lot of crimes that are a result of a bad home. And it's just like Casey said, you know, that crime starts in the home, and you're not giving the families much of a chance if you're not addressing the issue. So, and it helps the community overall. It helps the city. It helps the community. It helps neighborhoods, because they're living in all of our neighborhoods, and it's having that kind of impact. So, again, it's we're really excited about it. I mean, it is a law enforcement initiative, but it's a collaborative issue, which we're finding that, and I think we already know this. It's just doing it, that to really have an impact on anything, it takes a lot of different people, a lot of different disciplines.
Right, right.
Casey, one of the things I remember too, when we first visited yours years ago, that you all had found your prosecution increased and your time for prosecution actually went down. So that's one of the things too that I'm hopeful, as we look at that here in our community, as we all work together too, that will benefit and help victims in that court process, but also help the prosecution rates increase.
Well, hats off to all of you for working so closely together. You want to tell us a little bit about what's our next step?
Well, we've been here for the last 3 days, and we're really looking at kind of what's going on now among agencies who are trying to collaborate, what needs to be addressed in that, who's missing from the table, trying to benchmark where we are with prosecution, and the prosecutors are clearly overwhelmed. Clearly the numbers are very high here. The Oklahoma City Police Department's crime map of domestic violence, when I saw it, you couldn't see the land with all the domestic violence calls. All I could see was the lake, and the airport runway was the only place where there weren't domestic violence incidents in Oklahoma City. So we know this is a problem that we've got to benchmark and now be able to measure going forward as we start this model. The next step in the process after this evaluation is we're coming back in December for formal strategic planning days. We're going to invite the community and large numbers of people to sit in a room and begin to develop a vision for what it should look like here. I got asked yesterday, what it's going to be here? I said, I don't know. I'm not from around here. And it turns out that every center looks different. Every center in America looks different. New York City doesn't look like our tribal centers. Our tribal centers don't look like San Diego. Oklahoma City won't look like Tulsa. I guarantee you that this model here will be unique, but we believe that you have the capacity and you have the community willingness to create something that can be a national model here, that can pull in the child abuse piece and the domestic violence piece and the sexual assault piece, pull in the faith community, pull in the schools, and really create a dynamic community that is allowed to really become a framework for how people work together. So that formal planning starts in December. Kim is obviously leading that effort for the chief and for the whole team that's coming together. And this isn't just a government initiative or a community initiative. This is a public-private partnership model. And that's really how we're approaching it. So once we do the planning in December, we'll come out with a plan, and then that journey will begin. My guess is here there'll probably be a couple phases to it. There'll be a really big vision. We always say dream big, and then we say start small. But there'll be a first phase. In the next 12 to 18 months, the goal will be to begin to have agencies living together, building on the WISE partnership with the police department already, and building on the way law schools work with the DA's office or the public defender's office, building on those partnerships, starting a few agencies together, and then hopefully my dream would be in 5 years here, Oklahoma City has a national model, and you start to see homicides go down, and you start to see police response go down because you're seeing less cases. And when victims have all the services they need, law enforcement's not their first choice. You're not going to arrest or prosecute your way out of this. You've got to break the cycle in families, and that's not going to happen in the criminal justice system, as important as the criminal justice system is to all of this.
Okay, Kim, you're the project director.
I know, no pressure.
You said 5 years. You think it's going to take that long?
No.
I thought you might say that. I thought you might say that.
No, we have got great leaders on board, and I'm not joking, but just in the last few days, I've received hundreds of emails. I mean, people are so excited. It's generating a lot of dialogue in our community. People are saying, like, how can we help? What can we do to get involved? And I do not believe it'll take 5 years.
Well, I really appreciate all of you coming in today, and you can count on us here at the paper to help you lead this charge, and we'll do what we can to help you.
Thanks.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.